Look, I'm sure there are plenty of 200 IQ geniuses that are professional painters. I'm not disputing that, but what I'm saying is this work for this type of house is not smart work. Nope. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the Palace of Peeling Paint. We are out here in the wasteland and we're going to be working on my shed. Well, it's actually not going to be this shed, it's going to be the one next to it. And as you'll soon see, that shed is in much worse condition than this one. Now, this was a project that was not even on my radar at this time because I've got all of these other projects going on. I've got my garage, I've got my ADU, I've got freaking 10 cars, and I was really trying to lessen the amount of projects that I had to work on. Now, I wasn't paying any attention at all to these sheds until something happened that changed everything and put one of these sheds at the top of my list of priorities, and it turned out to play a pivotal role in the construction of my garage and my ADU. So let's go back in time a few months to the point where I realized everything was about to change. Let's get going. Well, I wasn't planning on working on this shed, but a recent windstorm put this at a higher priority because the wind took off a large chunk of roof. And since I didn't want to lose the entire building, this is now a project that is happening. So this is a shed that I have been absolutely neglecting. I did nothing with it. I was just kind of letting it fall apart, hoping that it would last long enough for me to, get around to working on it. But after the windstorm, it exposed probably from here to about there on this side of the shed. And once it started peeling the roof off, the walls are next. So I decided it was time. So what am I gonna do with this shed? Well, for starters, I already have an 8-foot door that I can put right about here. Take this door out. We're going to put an 8-foot door in. We're going to put a new roof on it. We're going to remove this beam right in the middle. I'm thinking this can be a machine shop. So it's a great size for storing something like the TR7 or the Miata. But in addition to that, I can put my 20-ton press, I can get a drill press, I can get some proper fabrication tools, and I can really use this space for things that I might want in the garage, but not all the time. Because that's the problem with some of these things that I'm using in my garage is that, like my 20-ton press, I don't use that all the time. I use that very rarely. That can go in here. And I can use this for all of that kind of stuff. And that opens up the garage to be used for only automotive stuff. I haven't been keeping up on this on the daily, but my contractor has been working on this for probably, I think, 4 days now. And you see, we've got some lumber, and he has reinforced everything. He put up the opening for the 8-foot door, and pretty much squared this up as good as he could. This wall apparently is 2 inches out of square, and I don't really care because, like, well, this is a little more than a shed now. It's more like shaping up to be a proper garage. But I don't really care because I'm not living in here. But he did a really good job, all things considered. And we got the beam up so that we no longer need to have a post, which is awesome because now I have all of this space so that I can maybe even fit a shitty car like a TR7. It's kind of a weird approach, but I think the TR7 might fit, especially if it had a Miata steering rack. It would probably definitely fit. But this is shaping up to be a really cool space, and I'm really excited because now I can get all of the things out of the garage that don't belong in the garage. So my contractor has finished this little building here. We're gonna have the garage door guy come in and install a garage door, and next he is going to help me sort out flash wall and, well, not really a flash wall, actually. We're going to use just steel strips around, just like how you do with the roofing here. We're going to have some bent steel wrapping around the structure. In the middle here, we're going to have a drain. It's going to be a drain grill going down into a French drain that will end with the piping somewhere out there. That'll make it so that the water that comes flowing down here does not go into the garage, and it will also be waterproofed along the bottom of the building. Which means inside the building, he is done. I can start building shelves, I can start painting the building. And so before I start building shelves, I want to figure out where I intend to build them. Obviously, there's going to be some great opportunity for a workbench over here. And since the shelves I intend to build are going to be at least semi-permanent, I don't want to have to move them if I decided I want to store a car in here. That means the best way to figure this out is to do a test fit. And obviously, this is not a huge space. I would either fit the Miata or the TR7 or the weird Frankenstein of the two in here. And since the TR7 is in really bad shape, we're going to do our test fit with the Miata. As you can see, I was about to Austin Powers myself. So before I did that, I decided to abort this mission. However, we got some very useful information in the process. The first being that if we're going to make this work, we're going to have to make some adjustments to this grade. That is definitely a different project for a different day because there's about 3 tons of rocks there. I built that rock formation myself, so I know I can undo it. Once that's done, we'll be able to pull the car up here or from there and pull it back and into the spot. So the Miata has a really good steering rack. It can turn at a pretty steep angle. So I see it being brought in over here, and the back end of the car being here, the front end being there, and we'd be able to work our way back out. Probably have to do a little bit of a 3 or 5 or 10 point turn, but that leaves all of this area clear. Now I really want a workbench somewhere here underneath the skylight because that's going to be a really good space to work. But what I can do here is have a workbench come out here with shelves above it, shelves and pegboards, or pegboards and shelves above those pegboards. We can do shelves on either side of the window and above the window for storing, you know, containers and stuff, that sort of thing. And then we'll have the workbench over here. Got everything I need for the shelving project. I got a box of very expensive screws, pile of lumber. I've got a couple of sheets of plywood over here and another pile of screws that I probably can't use because they're only 2-inch. So let's talk about the shelves real quick. I'm going to have 3 levels of shelves. The first level is going to be down here right on top of these cross beams. I'm going to build off of the cross beams, and that shelf is going to be 24 inches. The second shelf is going to be probably about here, just, you know, right at about eye level, my eye level anyway. And that's going to be 18 inches. And then we're going to have a third level at the top, and that's also going to be 18 inches. They're going to be spaced out approximately, I don't know, they're going to be reasonable. So the second level is going to be here. Third level is going to be up here. So to solve my immediate needs, these shelves are going to probably hold car parts because I got a lot of parts on the shelves in the garage, but eventually they're going to store tools and materials for building stuff. The car parts eventually in the long run will go into that shed. That'll be a storage only shed. And this will be a mostly fabrication shed. I'm probably going to do most of this off camera because it involves, you know, going over here, going over there, and you're just not going to get a lot of footage of me actually doing stuff. There's just too much to work with, so And I've also got a lot to figure out in my head. I have not fully baked this idea. I am pretty terrible at a lot of things, and I'm going to use as much of the scrap wood as I can because I'm really bad at measuring and I'm going to screw up. So why don't I screw up on the materials that I paid nothing on first? So I get the fan going because the flies are just relentless out here. I don't know if you can see them, but there's fucking hundreds of them in the doorway. It's just all over the place. Anyway, I got to a little bit of a slow start, but it wasn't quite as clumsy as I thought it would be. So one of my biggest challenges here was just how far out of square this garage is. And that basically just meant that I could not trust anything that came off of that back wall. Because over here, I had, the beam way over here, I had the beam way over there, and wherever I put it, I just looked at it and went, oh, that really sucks. So what I ended up doing was I just kind of stood right here and visually split the difference. See, because if I focused on that being perfectly square, the fact that that wall is off square made it look like a complete trapezoid. But if I took the measurement directly off of this wall, that meant that the whole thing was, crooked that direction. So I just kind of split the difference, made it look visually okay, and then screwed everything together. And I think it came together really nicely. I ended up putting a vertical beam there because I just didn't like that back wall situation. Over here is a completely different story. Over here, there is so much lumber that I can, jump around and dance on this and not have any worries. So I put that extra up right there, and that's also going to help me do the cross bracing underneath the bench. So down here, you see I've got this stick here that's just kind of sticking out. It's a stick that sticks out. What a silly thing to say. Anyway, I've also got that block there. I'm using these little blocks here just kind of as placeholders to help me locate everything. So what I'll do is I'll take square, draw a line, put a placeholder block up against it, and then I can screw this into it, and then I can secure this side also squared up, and it comes out looking pretty good. So underneath the bench, I've got kind of a special requirement. You see, I want to have some space for things that can fit underneath the bench, like those big paint buckets, like all of these tools. So I don't want to just run a beam all the way across the floor like that. That makes it so that things can't roll in and out. That just makes it a whole lot harder. So I am going to cut cross braces like a K-brace underneath this thing so that the weight in the center will distribute out that direction. So I still have some more thinking to do, but I'm pretty sure that I'm making good progress with this. Could I have made it look better? Yes. Is this overbuilt? Yes. But will it be able to handle anything that I put on it until the end of time? Also, yes. This is so strong. You can put half a car on this thing and it is going nowhere. So I am really happy with the results so far. I think it is time to start setting the second shelf. So I described the K-beam earlier, and mostly the reason for that is so that these uprights don't move. I wanted everything to be nice and plumb down there and over there, so I lined it all up with the level and then set it back into place. Over here, instead of having a whole cross brace, I just braced it into the bottom plate because it was right there. So that's all nicely tied together into the wall. None of that's going to move. None of that's going to move because it's tied together with this X-brace. So the next shelf is probably something that I could just build right there or even right there because it is just going to be a box that attaches to the uprights. I could have, instead of this beam being on the outside, I could have it on the inside so that it looks a little bit better, so that it's a little bit easier to place. And I think for the second and third shelves, I might do that. For this first shelf, I'm gonna leave it exactly the way it is because I think it looks just fine. I have zero problems with it. Yesterday I was going to do some regular check-ins as I worked, but things moved so quickly that I didn't even have a chance to pick up the camera. You see here, I've got a door. It's a filthy door, but I have a door. And while I was working, the garage door installer came in and put this door on for me. And I cannot be happier about the fact that I have a door on my little garage now. I've also moved all of the stuff in from the big garage, all of my grandparents' furniture, and it's going to just live here until we are done building the ADU. So yesterday, I got to work on a proper workbench for this little shed. So the idea here is this is going to eventually be a fabrication shop. So everything that has to do with wood and metalworking is going to live in here, and all of my tools, and I'm going to use that shelving for, you know, materials and tool storage. I'm going to build a third tier, but I'm going to do that later. For now, I needed to just get something in here so that I could move this furniture in. So now that the furniture is in here, this project is kind of on pause. But eventually, the workbench here, I'm going to branch out and probably go up to that beam right there, you know, right next to the big beam. I want enough room to get a car in, so I'm not going to, you know, go all the way across, but I do want a nice L to work with. I'm also going to do a second tier for storage. It's going to be probably a 12-inch shelf. I don't want to encroach on the 24-inch workbench over here. So I'm going to do a second tier. It's going to be just above eye level, and that's going to be for materials and more tools to store above the workbench. And then in between those tiers, I can have pegboards and I can hang stuff, and it's just going to be awesome. And I'm really, really looking forward to making the most out of this space. But for now, this is going to be on hold. The next step for this little mini garage is the exterior. You can see the paint is just jumping off of the walls here. So we're going to patch some holes. We're going to scrape this, prep it for a fresh coat of primer, and then we're going to paint it. Probably going to paint it the same color I painted this house because I've got lots of paint left over. So when we paint this thing, we're going to spray it and then back roll it. So do a spray and then roll with the roller. So right now I have a self-imposed rule that I can't start a new project until I finish the existing projects that I have going. My Jeep just broke. I need to fix my Jeep, but I can't start that project because of my rule. Because I need to fix that Prelude, I need to finish it, get it out the door. And I need to finish my other Prelude. But since I'm waiting on parts for those, I can't do anything there. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to finish this project. You see, I've already gone through about 30 tubes of caulking. This thing is all sealed up. I've covered up the windows, and everything is out of the way. I have a primer, I have paint. It is time to paint this shed, and we're going to finish this project. all the primer is done, and honestly, from here on out, I'm probably going to use a brush and roller, and that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm painting this 2 different colors. I want to have the white trim, but I think the walls, I'm thinking green to match this color. Either green, or I'm going to use that, tan color, that taupe color. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I definitely need to buy more because that is not enough. I ended up using way more primer than I thought. And another reason why I want to use a brush and roller instead of the sprayer is because the sprayer is a lot of cleanup. Like with the air sprayer, you can't just stop. You can't just, put your brush down, dump it in a bucket of water, and walk away. There's like an hour of cleanup I still have to do. So when you're using the sprayer, you're kind of committing to doing all of the work that can be done in that day because of the amount of cleanup. And I also exhausted myself. I am really tired, but I still have another hour of cleanup to do, which sucks. Honestly, it really sucks. But I'm glad I did it this time because the wood, as you can see, is just drinking up the paint. It was so dry that I'd just be here forever doing a brush and roll from the get-go. Off camera, I went ahead and painted the eaves. I wanted to take advantage of the cloud cover and cool weather because it's not going to last very long. So the thing is, I don't enjoy painting. Painting is not intellectually stimulating. It's literally take this liquid and put it on that surface. And then once you do it there, you got to take that liquid and put it on that surface over there. And then you got to take that liquid and you got to put it on that surface over there. And then once you're done with each of these eaves, you come around here and you got to take that liquid and put it on that surface. That's what paint is. Look, I'm sure there are plenty of 200 IQ geniuses that are professional painters. I'm not disputing that, but what I'm saying is this work for this type of house is not smart work. It's not, it doesn't require a high level of intelligence. So the thing with a sprayer is that it's great when you're laying the same color over everything. And so that's why I chose to do white over everything, because I wanted white trim. But if I want a color just on the walls and I want to spray the walls but not the eaves, I got to tape all of that shit up. With a brush and roller, you can take it in sections. You can do it little by little. You can say, okay, I have an hour on this day, after work. Let me go, bang out one wall or even half of a wall. Let me just do the brushwork in these grooves. And then you just do that. And then you can move on, throw the brush into the sink, clean it out, takes a couple of minutes, and you're done. If I were a professional and this were my day job, I would probably go through the prep and do the spray. But since I am an amateur, since I don't have that kind of time on my hands all in one block, I'm going to take the piecemeal route. Well, it's done. Well, not quite. There's actually a few things that bother me that I want to address before I call this project done and move on with my life. So I didn't film the actual painting of this because I was kind of doing it during the week. And during the week, I don't have the advantage of cloud cover in the morning because I have to do my real job in the morning. So I was doing it in the afternoon when the sun was out that way. So basically, at the end of my day, I had a few hours. It's June, so it doesn't get dark until like 8 o'clock. So I took advantage of that and just came out here and painted until the sun went down. And I got a whole lot done, and I'm really happy with the progress. But there's just a few things that either I missed or didn't think I would care about that turns out I do care about. One of them is this right here. So where my contractor put in new pieces, he had to cut away the rotten wood. We've got just a little bit of unevenness here. I'm going to take the sander to that, even that out, And then on the walls, in various spots, there's a couple of spots that I want to put some caulking in, just some holes that were a little big, and overall, do some touch-ups. Like there's some, you know, shrinkage, paint shrinks sometimes. And so I'm going to have to do a lot of touching up and probably just roll a whole second layer of paint. And then on this wall, we've got a little bit of the same here. There's some unevenness. There's a couple of holes here and there. That bothers me, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Back here, I didn't put any caulking along the top here, and I feel like I should, just because it's going to help with bug intrusion into the building. So there's these flowers here, and my concern is that maybe if there's a crevice big enough for bees to get in, that maybe I'll end up with a beehive in my shed. I mean, that's not a huge concern because my new tenant does pest control and bee removal, but still I want to protect myself for the future. Well, I finished up all my touch-ups, and I gotta say, at 20 feet, this is a real looker. Obviously, as you get close to it, you are going to find imperfections. Like there's a few little paint runs down on this panel here. There's a drip here. But, you know, here's the thing. This is, for one, a utility shed. And two, this building is 80 years old. It is original to the house. So this house never had a driveway. The driveway is attached to this property. And so my house, when I'm living in, had a tiny little 2-car garage originally. And obviously now it has a massive, enormous garage. But because this house didn't have a garage, it got these 2 sheds. And they're nice big sheds, but obviously they were built to the standards of a shed back in 1939. And so that means there's gonna be lots of imperfections, especially as you get up close to it. Like it kind of tilts in a little bit towards the top, you know, and things aren't straight. And so as a result, you're gonna have visual imperfections on the outside. I don't really care. I think this looks awesome. With a building like this, you really can't go chasing perfection. Because if you go chasing perfection, you're going to end up spending a lot more time and a lot more money than you really should on a building like this. So the main purpose of painting this was to protect the wood. And with a coat of primer, 2 coats of paint, that's mission accomplished. I may, the next time I open up the green, run a little bit in here. That bothers me just a little bit. So aside from that, I'm really happy with it. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Do have some work to do on the inside, but that's really kind of impossible to do with all the furniture and car parts that I have still stuck in there. As we continue to build out the garage and the ADU, we are going to free up more space in here to build more shelves, to build out a proper workshop. And that is when this place is really going to shine, is when all of this stuff is where it's supposed to be, and I can finally use it as a fabrication shop. So we also have the shed next to it that looks really dilapidated now that I've done all of this work. And so that is going to be a future project. That's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you don't like what you see, maybe you're a painter with a 200 IQ, leave a comment because I want to hear from you. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.